Hey guys, Dean of DVD here. Chill Pilgrim 1138 did a pretty cool overview of his CD collection, and I said, I got a pretty extensive one here. I'm not sure I can do it, and I'm not sure anybody would watch it. Now, I might get some new viewers, ones that are more into music and CDs than they are movies, but I've always felt like you ought to keep your channel pretty to the core, so your core audience sticks with you. But if you don't want to see my music CD collection and hear my comments about it, don't watch it. If you watch it and like it, let me know. I'll do more. I'm going to start with classical music, only because I have the fewest of those, and I can get through the video the quickest. I'm going to start with this one. I have about 30 or so classical CDs that, to my mind, if you were going to start a library of classical music, or you wanted to know, what classical music should I get, I think I've done a pretty good job researching that to try to get popular stuff you probably would have heard, like in movies. And I don't mean necessarily Star Wars, though I have that somewhere, but it's not going to make the classical one. I mean classical, like Beethoven, Bach, Mozart, people like that. Or people like this, Tchaikovsky. Here's Swan Lake and Sleeping Beauty, the highlights from Sleeping Beauty, conducted by Eugene Ormandy and the Philadelphia Orchestra. Now, I've done a lot of research on these to find out what's a good version to get, because you can get 50 different versions of Swan Lake and Sleeping Beauty. But this one by Eugene Ormandy and the Philadelphia Orchestra sounds great and was reasonably priced. So that's the first one. Next up, this Philips brand. It's called the Silver Line Classics. They do a lot of really great ones. And this one here is a Mozart Symphonies 29, 35, also known as the Hafner Symphony, and 40. And this is conducted by Sir Neville Marriner, and he's conducting the Academy of St. Martin in the Fields. It's a smaller group, but the symphony doesn't require a huge group for this one, believe it or not. And you can see most of these discs are very long. Just doing the math off the top of my head, 4, 7, 15 from the bottom, 20, 5, 8, 43, 56, 60, and 14, 74 minutes. And it might even total it someplace, but I didn't see it. But yeah, 74 minutes on this one. So these are pretty long discs usually. And most of these Silverline series, yeah, the disc is in here. I wasn't sure you'd find it here or if it's in a player. Have a booklet with them. I'm not going to go through all of them, but the booklet's in there. You can see it's got some pages in there. I'm not going to take it out. It'll give you an overview of what's going on with it. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. All right. Next up, great performances. And I only have one of these, but this is one of my favorite pieces of music. It's Leonard Bernstein, first of all, the New York Philharmonic. And how can you go wrong with them and with him? These are some historical recordings. Most of these are older ones, but they sound just as good today as they were. Barber's Adagio is why I purchased this. But the other ones are romantic favorites for strings, Mahler's Adagietto, Vaughan Williams' Fantasia on Green Sleeve, which you've probably heard, and a Fantasia on a theme by Tallis, and then Tchaikovsky's Andante Cantabile. But Barber's Adagio, which is probably best known as the music from Platoon, if you remember watching Platoon, if you've seen that movie. Barber's Adagio is kind of that slow, sad, somewhat romantic piece that plays in the background, heavy on strings, and of course these are romantic favorites for strings. So there's a lot of strings. For my money, strings are one of the better things in an orchestra. That Adagio lasts 9 minutes and 56 seconds. It's by Samuel Barber, and my favorite piece of music on this CD. Again, real quick, got a pretty nice looking disc here. Yeah, there we go, and the booklet inside also. Okay, so much for that. Next up, this one's seen more play than probably any disc I've got in my collection. If there's one that needs to be replaced, it's probably this one. It's Vivaldi's Le Quattro Stagioni, or The Four Seasons, by Vivaldi. Beautiful piece of music. The booklet's got some wear and tear on it. It's been played a lot. Love The Four Seasons. This is Roberto Michelucci and the I Musici Orchestra. Beautiful version of The Four Seasons by Vivaldi. Next up, one of my favorite pieces of music. It's Rachmaninoff's Symphony No. 2, Royal Philharmonic Orchestra, directed by Andrei Previn, pretty famous conductor. I should say conducted or directed, I guess same thing. But this is neat because Rachmaninoff's Symphony No. 2 is it's got the melody for Eric Carmen's Never Gonna Fall in Love Again, if you know that melody. That is the melody in the Adagio section of Rachmaninoff Symphony No. 2. And the Adagio section, or the slow section, is probably the most famous. So, anyway, Rachmaninoff, great, great piece of music. If you like slower, more romantic things. And just to continue that, here's Claudio Abbado conducting the Chicago Symphony Orchestra, one of my favorite orchestras. And the debut recording of Cécile Lecade, Rachmaninoff's Piano Concerto No. 2, also Rhapsody on a theme of Paganini. But the Piano Concerto No. 2 is another beautiful piece of music, and familiar to you, again from Eric Carmen, the song All By Myself is the melody is taken from Piano Concerto No. 2. Okay, beautiful piece of music. Next up, this is supposed to be a very sexual piece, Ravel's Bolero, by my favorite conductor, by the way, Sir George Solti, and the Chicago Symphony Orchestra, also my favorite orchestra. But great piece there. Next up, you'll see more Solti as we go along here. Next up is Beethoven's Symphony No. 9, Choral Symphony, by the Berlin Philharmonic Orchestra, conducted by Herbert von Karajan. Great stuff there. Next up, Beethoven's Symphony No. 2 and Symphony No. 7 by Toscanini, very famous director. The NBC Symphony Orchestra, this one from the 50s. Great stuff, though. And that is a picture of Toscanini there, not Beethoven. Pretty cool stuff. Next up, another Beethoven. This one, Beethoven's Symphony No. 5 and 6, which is known as the Pastoral Symphony. Symphony No. 5 is the one that everybody knows. You know, dun, 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 dun. This is the Berliner Philharmonic. Again, Karajan is the conductor. I like this cover on that. It's pretty cool. Yeah, the back. Oh, nice picture of Karajan here on the back. Yeah, there he is, conducting the orchestra. Conductors are kind of cool. They got kind of cool jobs, I think, but not for me. Emanuel Ax with Andrei Previn conducting. This is Concertos No. 3 and 4, Beethoven. It's the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra. Emanuel Ax gets a solo on both Concerto No. 3 and Concerto No. 4. Yeah, good stuff. Now here's an oddity. This one's kind of, it's not really classical music, but I classify it as such. I think this might be hard to find. I'm not sure. At one point it was. This is Bach meets the Beatles. These are variations in the style of Bach. So what he did was, it's improvised by this guy, John Bayliss, on piano. He took the Beatles' melodies and then sort of turned them into what Bach might have done with them. So they get playful and they go into little jaunts here and there, and they come back to the melody, and it's actually pretty cool. And the songs here that he's done are not all Beatles songs strictly. Imagine, All You Need Is Love, Hey Jude, Because, Let It Be, The Long and Winding Road, Penny Lane, Yesterday, Michelle, Nowhere Man, And I Love Her, Golden Slumbers, and You Never Give Me Your Money, Something, Here, There, and Everywhere, and then Imagine as an aria. The other one is as a sinfonia. But either way, these are beautiful pieces of music. Maybe hard to find, I don't know. But I own it. Next, there's three. All three are the same. Basically, it's classical music for people who hate classical music. These are my wife's. In fact, this one's never been opened. These two have never been opened, oddly. She only opened this one. But they have a great collection of Mozart, Beethoven, Mendelssohn, like the Wedding March, the one you've all heard at every wedding you've ever been at, probably. Bolero does have Barber's Adagio for strings on this also. The Four Seasons, the 1812 Overture, the Nutcracker, Carmen, Rhapsody in Blue, Midsummer Night's Dream. Lots of stuff on here that's kind of cool. So that's the three disc set. Classical music or classical music for people who hate classical music. If I were going to buy just one thing, I'd probably buy this. It's not great. You're not going to get great versions of them, but they're good enough. If you're not a real, fanatic about it, this would probably be great. Next up is definitely a non-classical, but I put it with my classicals. I didn't know what else to do with it. It's a Silk Road Suite by a guy named Kitaro. Now, this happens to be with the Symphony Orchestra, the London Symphony Orchestra. Paul Buckmaster, he does a lot of stuff with Elton John. He is conducting. And the Silk Road Suite, Kitaro's this guy, I don't know how to explain Kitaro. He writes like really peaceful type music, I guess. Asian influenced. Pretty cool stuff, though. Yeah. I enjoy that. Next up, some Mozart. This one is the Concerto for Flute and Harp, and also a Concerto for Clarinet. London Sinfonia conductor Richard Hickox. Can't read that for some reason. Next, I'm going to go through these a little bit quicker. This is the Piano Concertos 1 through 4. Again, Mozart. And also 37, 39, 40, and 41. Murray Perhaya. Something like that. And he's up again, Murray, good old Murray, with Mozart, Piano Concerto 20 and 27 with the English Chamber Orchestra. Chamber Orchestra, usually a smaller group. Usually strings. Maybe not so much brass, though. Next, another Sir George Solti, the Chicago Symphony Orchestra. The 1812 Overture. Also has Romeo and Juliet and the Nutcracker Suite, but it's Tchaikovsky stuff. This is the big exploding sounds of Tchaikovsky. Good stuff. You've heard those before. This one's more of an introspective piece, I think, but I enjoy it. This is Toronto Symphony with Andrew Davis conducting, and it's Holst, the planets. He took each planet and just what, in his mind, each planet kind of represented, he puts onto here, and it's kind of cool. So you've got each of the you guess what you got. Mars, Venus, Mercury, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, or Uranus, and Neptune. So I guess they say Pluto's not a planet. Look, he knew that. He didn't put Pluto on there. Nor does he have Earth. But anyway, that's what he wrote. I'm not leaving anything out. That's all there is. Orchestral Spectaculars, Cincinnati Pops Orchestra, Eric Kunzel. These are more fun pieces. These are just big, brassy, bold things that you might hear. Sorcerer's Apprentice. A lot of stuff like that. Good stuff. Next up, Berlioz, Symphonie Fantastique. Berliner and the Philharmonic, Daniel Barenboim conducting. Little less known piece there, but still great. Bach, the Brandenburg Concertos, number 4, 5, and 6. Yeah, great stuff here. Bach is just wonderful. Can't go wrong with Bach. Next up, this is a little bit different piece here. Rodrigo. I just really wanted something like this, but it's wonderful sounding. It's a concerto for the harp. You don't hear a lot of harp concertos. This is a beautiful one, though. Next up is Sir George Solti, Mahler, Symphony No. 1. Mahler's pretty cool. There's the London Symphony Orchestra. Good stuff there. Down to the last 3. I'm missing one, but I guess I'll find that later. Sibelius, Symphony No. 2. Sir Colin Davis and the Boston Symphony Orchestra. Good stuff there. 2 more. One that probably most people have heard of. Also, Sprach Zarathustra by Richard Strauss, which is also known as the 2001 theme. Good stuff. And last but not least, Schubert. Schubert, another romantic. And there's Sir George Solti with the Wiener Philharmoniker. This is Symphony No. 9. Did I say 1? Symphony No. 9 by Schubert. Pretty famous symphony. All right, guys, that is, in a nutshell, my classical music collection. And I hope you enjoyed checking it out for a little bit. It's going to go back where it goes. I have a special place for all these, so they're going to go back where they go. And I'll move on to something else for my next one. All right, guys, that's the classical one. There's about 30 there. And I'll move on to something else for the next piece. And I'll do these in stages as did Chill Pilgrim. All right, guys, take care.